Hello, Internet, and welcome to the Free-to-Play Cast. Episode 168, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm Mike Byrne, a.k.a. magicman, your host for the festivities today. Joining me to talk some free-to-play news and gaming news and reviews and conventions and all that good stuff that's happened over the last week. You know them, you love them, but we gotta introduce them anyway. First up, Q, what's up?
There's festivities?
Yeah, there's always festivities.
Oh, man, I wasn't prepared.
Jason brought the cookies.
Ooh, cookies.
Also on the line, Jason Winter.
Yeah, I brought the cookies in my stomach.
That's kind of gross.
Also, I want to say that today, this is my 100th anniversary Bomb Live, or free-to-play cast. My first
100th anniversary?
68 was my first free-to-play cast.
Very cool, very cool. Well, congrats. But you weren't on all 100 though. I mean, that would take some work to figure out.
Too much work.
Too much work.
Just add numbers together and get shit and move on.
Just like Super Data does. We'll just handle it the way Super Data.
Oh.
Just round that shit. Alright, let's head over and get started with the news. Kind of a weird week for some free-to-play games. Particularly games that have been in development for very, very long periods of time and are now starting over, apparently. The Repopulation, we've talked about it before on this show for a number of topics, but mainly we get asked why we don't have a first look for it yet, and it's because the game was not in a state to give a first look at any point. Now, that might be a good thing right now, because apparently the whole hero engine thing didn't go down very well when it was all said and done, huh?
No. They basically just had to say screw it and shuffle over to a different engine.
Oh. Now they're going to go over to the Unreal Engine now, but that means that basically a lot of the code's got to be rewritten from scratch. They're able to save some of the assets themselves, but the code, not so much. Obviously,
What they said, pretty much I think all of the assets will go over. It's literally just the code they have to start over with.
Yeah, that means, Jason, that the Repopulation, which we thought might have been out a year ago, and still isn't out now, is probably now a few more years from actually coming out.
They need to repopulate the code base.
Oh, God.
I just thought of that now. I didn't save it up or anything, just right now. But anyway. Yeah, well, I don't have the software engineering background that you do, so I don't know exactly how long something like that would take. I mean, I would hope that it's not going to be several years. I'd hope like maybe sometime in 2016 they could still get it back up and running and in some sort of state where people could play it. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be really disappointing for any people who had been playing in the previous betas and so on. They now have to just hold off, sort of, because we'll have some other news on that, but to have the main product be pushed back this far, just because of a dispute with the engine and the money involved in that. Repopulation, we've been talking about this game for I think I did it back on Twemo, in 4 years ago.
Long time.
It just keeps getting one bad thing after another showing up, and I feel bad for him, but man.
Honestly, I'm surprised by the news. I thought if the hero engine stuff didn't get fixed, that the Repopulation was gone. I mean, this was a whole Kickstarter thing and crowd-funded thing. This wasn't like Blizzard with all the money sitting there and couldn't reach a contract and said, okay, well, let's just change things. They have the money to do that on the fly. They don't want to, obviously, spend that type of money to do it, but they could. This was a crowd-funded Kickstarter, everybody donating type deal, and they had some internal funding and angel investors and things like that as well, but this was a pretty big deal, and I thought if Hero Engine doesn't get resolved, this is way too far along. It's just going to disappear. Luckily, it's not. At least according to the current plans, it's not disappearing, it's not canceled, but it's obviously going to be delayed for quite some time. What you mentioned, Jason, though, the good news, in big air quotes, I guess, the good news is that the Repopulation player base is going to get a little tide me over type freebie gift. They're setting up a spin-off called Fragmented. Now, that's going to be a trimmed-down version of the currently existing Repopulation, and will use all the assets they have, and anybody that owns the Repopulation is going to get that. So a little... I mean, it's nice to get a little, hey, we're sorry, here, Q, but I don't... Do you really want to play something else at this point, or are you just ready to back off and sit and wait for the new one?
I mean, I would probably give the freebie game a try just to check it out. And they did say that it's something that they're actually planning on keeping updated even after the Repopulation is put out. So it's not like they're just making it and dropping it and being like, here's a thing and it'll be good until you guys actually get the actual game. They're going to do both at the same time.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of like the change, though. If you go and look at the forums, even the comments on our own page, a lot of Repopulation players are okay with it because they want it away from the hero engine anyway. So maybe it's a bit of a mixed bag that ends up as an ultimate good for the Repopulation, Jason.
Yeah, as long as the money still holds out, as long as they can keep producing it and keep manufacturing and not have to worry about layoffs 6 months in. Which I imagine they have some concept of that, because if they're going to take these steps and have a new game and everything, they must figure that they've got enough money and resources to last another year or two, however long it's going to take. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of the Fragmented itself, it's like a survival game, which has been all the rage now. So
yeah, 2015 was the year of Survive.
And why not throw more out there? Because that Conan one was announced.
I was just about to say, we're going to get to do it in Hyboria now, too.
Yeah. Sure, why not?
We do get people asking from time to time why we even talk about the Repopulation, because you do have to pay to get into it right now. Well, you did have to pay to get into it. It's kind of like the whole H1Z1 thing. When it actually does at some point launch, it is intended to be free to play, with Cash Shop being and an optional membership as well.
Ha ha ha! A Daybreak game launching. Ha ha ha!
So yeah, the Repopulation is technically free to play, although yes, we do understand that you have to pay to get into it right now. I don't know, I kind of give this one the ultimate thumbs up because of the whole engine switch. If I was more of a Repopulation player, I'm sure I'd be a little more disappointed in having to wait for a few years, but or at least a year. I'd say this is going to take at least a year, year and a half for this type of change. Speaking of new engines, though, did you guys know APB Reloaded was still a thing?
Every now and then someone mentions it on my Twitter, and I'm like, oh yeah, that.
Yeah, I occasionally forget that that's even still a thing. It's getting a new engine as well, isn't it, Q?
Yeah, I mean, they put out a little video and stuff for it. Honestly, I don't remember when the last time I looked at APB Reloaded was, so I can't tell you how good the difference is. But I'm sure it's nice.
I think it looks good.
I'm sure it's pretty.
Yeah, I think it looks great. Good for them. I mean, they're making a ton of other changes, too, as far as systems and new loyalty rewards. And so it's not just the engine, but on this topic we're talking about the engine. It's a huge engine upgrade. They're not technically switching from one engine to another like the Repopulation, but it's getting a massive upgrade. I think it looks great. If you're an APB Reloaded player, this has got to be great news, Jason.
Well, the thing is, though, apparently this has been something they've been talking about for years.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
Upgrading their engine. So if I am an APB player, I'm not getting too excited about it until they give me a date or some sort of beta or whatever they can actually play in to try it out.
Oh, come on. You got a video of the engine? That wasn't enough for you?
I got a video. Ooh. And actually, Q, I remember the last time you thought about APB, because it was when Mike was out for a while. I told you about an article with some pictures of the new APB engine.
Yeah.
It's like 3 months ago or something. So
It's been
yeah, I mean they had pictures 3 months ago. Now they've got a video. Ooh,
yeah, moving forward.
Well, I mean, it could be. Look at it this way, though, right? They're overhauling pretty much the entire engine from everything that I've seen, rather than say versus Blizzard updating Warcraft or World of Warcraft, where they get you get an update on these character models. So
lots of people still waiting for the PlayStation 4 port, though. That was promised pretty much back when they talked about server or engine upgrades too. So the PS4 port they're working on a couple of years ago. We'll see.
Could you also
that's part of this.
Could you maybe not make it pay to win too?
Oh. Maybe that's something for the pay-to-play police or the free-to-play police. We'll talk about that later. That's our question of the week.
Do
If
we
you
have
have, yes, if you, oh, hey, that was fun. I liked that show. I like it. We'll talk about that in the question of the week. If you haven't watched the free-to-play police, Jason and I did the first ever episode as like a little pilot. Being very well received. We'd appreciate if you go give it a look and a thumbs up, and then hang tight for the question of the week because it's related to that. Jason, you had a busy week last week towards the end there. You were at PAX South. Where was it? It's in
San Antonio.
San Antonio. Not too far from you. Not too far.
Yeah, it's about a 5-hour bus ride. Very neat.
You should have flown.
Yeah, the budget wasn't there.
So tell us about it. Give us the whole wrap-up. Free to play, buy to play, doesn't matter. Just give us an idea of the convention, what you saw, what were the winners, what were the losers, what were the
Well, the convention was pretty good. I mean, it's bigger than you'd think, because I remember when I was looking at the convention hall and I was looking at the maps and everything, I thought, it looks kind of small, but it really was pretty big. I've got some nice crowd shots. Maybe I'll work them into an article or two that I do, but I mean, it's very well populated, very popular. It doesn't
need to be repopulated. Never mind.
Repopulated. Yeah.
Q's just shaking their head at me.
What it doesn't really have, there's a lot of the big names. I mean, I think like Capcom was there. I'm trying to look at the map now. It's like, who else was there that's like a really big company that you think of? And I'm looking at the big booths there. I mean, Twitch was there, but in terms of like game companies, just not a whole lot of the big companies like the Blizzards or Activisions or Ubisoft or Sony or anyone like that. And that's the thing that made it less interesting to me personally, because I tend to go more for the bigger games. I want to see the big MMOs and whatever. And yeah, in terms of MMOs, actually, I don't know if there was anything there. There was a straight-up MMO.
Wow.
Yeah, which as opposed to last year, where at least we had ArenaNet was doing their big Guild Wars 2 thing.
Right.
And, not an MMO, but Motiga was there with a big gigantic booth, so that was a lot of fun. This year, I mean, the biggest thing that I probably went away from liking a lot was Dreadnought, which I tried last year and tried again this year, and did really well. We won both our matches. We played against the beta tester. It was a bunch of press against the beta testers who do this all the time. We kicked their asses.
Well done.
By which I mean we won the team deathmatch by one kill in each.
Yeah, that sounds like a veritable ass kicking.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I really like how it's coming along. It's I've been playing a lot of World of Warships lately, as you know, but it kind of has the same sort of feel to it, only with spaceships and lasers and so on. A few more abilities, like you have different ability. You have like four active abilities, including your main weapons, and they fit like offense, defense, maneuverability, and I think more offense. So,
just stack up the offense.
yeah, but they have a lot of different variety. There's like 12. It's like of those 4 slots, you have like 12 different weapons you can put in them. You have some passive abilities. You got different builds for like light, medium, or heavy ship. Like within a class, like a dreadnought can be a light dreadnought, medium dreadnought, heavy dreadnought, and there are 5 different ship classes. So they've got a lot of different stuff in there for you to try out. So it's really looking nice, really coming along. It still looks beautiful. Seeing the ship just cruise along and all the lasers flying and whatnot really has a very nice feel to it. And I'm looking forward to getting to try a full release on that.
That was Dreadnought. Now you have here listed here Brawlhalla.
Yes.
Which I was very surprised to see on your list there. Kind of a smaller, more niche title as far as a free-to-play, let's call it what it is, a free-to-play Smash Brothers type clone. But it made your list as worthy to talk about. What was different there?
Well, honestly, first of all, they were there last year too. That was when I first played Brawlhalla. They had basically the same size booth, same general activity, same bunch of frantic people running around killing each other. And yeah, I mean they're not that small. They said they had what was it? Where's my notes here? I think 1 point.
Look at you! You're like old school reporter. Did you have a hat with like an ace of spades in it?
I actually lost my hat. I had a hat and I
got your little Holly Hobby notebook.
Anyway, over 1 million players. That was the point I was trying to make. They have over 1 million total players, 600,000 monthly, 115,000 daily.
Wow,
so
that's
really
a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah.
They're doing a tournament this year too.
Yeah, they're doing their World Championships in Atlanta, which they couldn't give me a whole lot of info on. Just said it was going to be kind of a combination of invitational and a play-in thing. They're going to have regional tournaments, that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, generally, and I that's one of the first things I asked them too. I was like, how are you guys like living out of boxes or whatever because you're so free to play. It just seems hard to believe that you're making any money. And they're like, no, we're doing great. Obviously we have this huge booth for 2 years in a row, and they really are devoted to good free to play. That's what they really want to promote. Giving you stuff that you want to buy. So. Yeah, I mean they're doing great. They're coming along great. They got their championships and everything. So, and as I was saying in chat earlier, the guy I talked to was named Zeke Sparks. And I have to keep that separate from Zach Sharps in my mind. It's really hard.
No, it's actually kind of funny because the money issue, like Atlanta or Georgia in general, puts a lot of money into the video game industry here. So I think last year.
Let's hope it's not to the extent Rhode Island did.
Last year they gave, I think it was $25 million in tax breaks.
Oh.
It's a combination. It's actually part of their movie industry thing. They count it as digital media, and so they both fall under the same thing. So that's the reason why there's 90 game development related companies in Atlanta right now.
Wow. That's something else to mention that I think about too when I think of this being in San Antonio and how there's so many companies in Austin, how they just don't make that trip.
Yeah.
It seems
right.
Yeah, that seems weird.
Load up a van. I mean,
it has to be why they put it in Austin to some extent, because or in San Antonio, because they want it to be close to all those companies. It's like we have PAX in Boston, which is where there's a lot of companies, and the other one in Seattle, and there's a convention in California. It's like.
I think the other thought process behind that actually was Texas is in the middle of the southern portion of the United States, because Texas isn't technically the South per se. It's the South and the Southwest. It's it's a weird place.
Hey, some people don't even consider it part of the U.S. So.
So it was always weird to us because we were like, wait, PAX South, shouldn't that be in Atlanta?
That'd be PAX Southeast.
By the way, my Holly Hobby notebook reference was another movie reference. Somebody got last week's movie reference. When we get to the comments, we'll talk about it. So if you get the Holly Hobby notebook one, make sure you throw it in the comments. Now, I can't... I'm looking at this list. I said, Jason, pop me a list of some of the specific games you want to talk about as part of your PAX South wrap-up so that I can throw them over to Q and we can look at the games you're going to be talking about in case there's anything we need to refresh ourselves on. And so he had Brawlhalla on the list. He had Dreadnought on the list. He had Live Lock on the list, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And then I saw Meridian 59.
Yeah.
Really?
You have breaking Meridian 59 news.
I do enjoy that he put seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I didn't think Mike would believe me.
I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have. I would have looked. He's just dicking with me.
Trolling.
Yep. So what is this Meridian 59 chat you want to bring up here?
So yeah, the Open Meridian project. It's run by a few guys. I don't know exactly how many, but there were two of them talking there at the booth. And they, a couple years ago, the guys who originally made Meridian 59 released the source code, and these guys are taking that and kind of trying to update it a little bit. It's not going to look like Guild Wars 2 or anything. It's not going to be on that level, but they are trying to modernize it just slightly. Just give it a few slight, I don't even want to say conveniences really, because it's not like you have tons of fast travel or warping to dungeon finders or anything like that. Just trying to make it a little more palatable, with modern technology, graphics and so on as well. And yeah, that's their thing. They are rebuilding this thing, taking the source code, putting their additional little moves on it, and I mean they're doing a really good job of it. They're really devoted to it. It's totally free. They're not gonna. They have no expectation of profit. It's just a passion thing that they're doing. They've got their website, they've got a Twitter and everything, so they're totally legit.
That's how you tell if you're legit. You got a Twitter.
Exactly. I mean, even getting a chance to play it, it's seeing.
Were there business cards? Because that's just whoa.
No, that's old school legit.
No, I had to write down their names in my notebook. but yeah, I mean, it's a thing. They're really trying to give it a comeback. They're really trying to make a comeback with it, and just see if they can get people, because they've been playing it for a really long time. And when they were there, when I was sitting there talking, another guy came up and said he'd been playing it since the beta for it before, like in 1995, before it even launched for real. So he was even older school than those guys.
Hey, I still play text-based adventures on my phone, so like old Zork games and stuff. So I could jump into some Meridian.
Could you really?
I think I could for a little while. I don't know how long I'd stick.
that's the thing. It seems like a cool historical thing. Like,
Yeah.
say, hey, I played Meridian 59. I mean, again, they're realistic about it. They know it's not going to quite appeal to everyone, but they're hoping to get both some old people and some new people in to take a look at it and see what they think of the really, really old school MMOs. EverQuest, not that new piece of crap.
Disclaimer, this next one is not free to play. It is not free to play. We are talking about this, though, because it's interesting because of the company that it is coming from. Perfect World Entertainment announced LiveLock, and they announced it technically a few days before PAX South. We got information, a week or so ahead of time, very, very limited information, just to set up Jason to go and talk to people there at PAX South. A few days ahead, we got the official announcement trailer. Top-down shooter, an Earth where this post-humans, we're gone. What was this all about? It's going to be buy-to-play later this year for the computer, or for PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. If I recall, Xbox One was on there?
I believe so.
I think so. I'll pull it up while you're chatting. What did the game look like? All we really knew was a little trailer that Q and I watched and said, okay, it's a top-down shooter, and what else?
No, I mean, it looks good.
There it is.
What was it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, there you go, top-down shooter. But no, it looks good. It plays pretty well. It plays like an ARPG shooter. That's how it kind of feels. So you cycle through a few different weapons, got some special abilities. Not really complex. It's the sort of thing you should be able to pick up pretty easily. A lot of explosions, pretty explosions. Everyone loves those. They're going to have a few different characters, and only 3 total in the game they're going to have. They've only shown off the one so far, the main DPS guy. But yeah, I mean, ARPG with guns. I guess there's no other way to put it.
So Diablo with guns.
Yeah.
You think it's going to do well? I mean, this is a company that historically has an issue in some cases with their free-to-play models. So I guess maybe the best thing for them is to just avoid free-to-play. I don't know. And
that was something they said, that they wanted to offer a complete experience. They didn't want to have to worry about all of that sort of thing, which, of course, whenever someone says that, it's like saying your product is new and improved. Well, what the hell was wrong with it before, obviously? If you want to provide a complete experience here, how incomplete is your other experiences? But anyway.
What's it going to have to do, Q, to set itself apart, though? That's what I'm worried about.
I mean, are you asking from their games or from?
No, from the genre that they're trying to break into and charge a fee to do it.
Yeah, that's really kind of hard, I think, because ARPGs have been around forever. So to be like, oh well, this is how you're gonna, stand. Just the fact that it's a shooter is gonna make a difference.
I could say that I think. Like I talked about, only having a few abilities, a few different characters. I think the simplicity of it is going to be okay. It's going to really help it on some level. Maybe not so much for PC. I think I agree if it's on the console. So much it's the sort of thing you and a few buddies can just grab, play over the weekend, and
It is Xbox One as well, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, that's what seems like the kind of crowd they're going for. They're not going for the hardcore. Diablo, got to have my perfect build with all sorts of different items. There isn't even the one thing about it is there isn't even the loot explosion that you expect from an RPG. The enemies do explode and drop little orbs that you can use but they're just currency used for crafting or whatever. You don't have, 18 different capes that drop off a guy or something like that.
Now, you've had very minimal gameplay, right? Did you actually got hands-on, but it wasn't...
Yeah, I got hands-on. I played through, one level.
So let me ask you this. If you're comparing it to something like a Torchlight or a Torchlight 2, which is a $15 purchase, or was when it came out a $15 to $30 purchase, depending on what you bought, how does it stack up against something? Because that's where I see their comp. I don't compare them, Perfect World Entertainment, and saying they're going to make the next Diablo. I don't compare it that way. But to me, this kind of is very similar to Runic doing Torchlight or Torchlight 2. It's a lesser-known company, and in some cases, Perfect World Entertainment isn't even known for creating this type of game experience, let alone a buy-to-play game. So how would it stack up against something like that, which I think might be more its competition than something bigger like Diablo?
It is probably similar. I mean, it's meant to be a little more casual of an ARPG. The setting, that's something they're really getting into, the setting and the story. It's written by some author who I've never heard of, but has written a lot of robots taking over kind of stories. There is a lot to it. Cause your character is a capital intelligence, it's called. There's a human psyche uploaded into a robot, and you have to fight all the other robots who've taken over the world. There's 20 levels worth of story missions, so there's going to be a lot there. It's also going to have and I don't know how Torchlight handles this, but it's going to have level scaling. so you can definitely get into it no matter what, even if I've got my level 15 cat. No, sorry, level 15 character.
Named Domino.
Yeah, exactly. If you're at 15, you're just starting out, you can still tag along with me. It's got repeatable levels there. They have a lot of procedurally generated stuff, so they're going to try to do that to help keep it fresh a lot. So yeah, I mean, it's not like markedly different, but for something new and pretty well done, I think it'll do all right on that level.
I'm going to check it out. What did you have, Q?
You know what's hilarious about this part of the conversation, though? Wasn't Torchlight originally, if I remember correctly, it was originally intended to be a free-to-play game for Perfect World?
Yeah. Well, and Torchlight 2 was actually sold through Perfect World Entertainment.
Right, because I distinctly remember them, like, I was like, okay, cool, this free-to-play, game that looks really interesting is going to be coming out from Perfect World, and then they go and announce just the standalone game, and I'm like, I'm not going to pay $15 for something that's going to be free to play on Perfect World. And they actually tweeted back at me like, no, this is a different thing.
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to pull it up right now. It's still available. Torchlight 2 is still available on the Arc platform, so as well as Steam and directly from their site and everything. $20. So I would assume that we could expect a similar price point. We don't have anything to confirm that, but I can't see them.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's $20 or $45 for a 3-pack.
There we go. So you did get pricing information.
Yes. Sorry, you didn't ask.
I'm sorry. We had nothing on the game. I didn't see them later this year. So 10 months. Sometime in the next 10 months, you'll have another ARPG from Perfect World Entertainment. All right, let's wrap up with a couple real quick reviews. Some odd first looks went out this week. Today went Sphere 3 went up. We're not going to talk about that one this week, and we're probably not even going to talk about it next week. I'm not. It's already uninstalled. And I hate to be mean, but the game's selling feature doesn't hold any interest for me, being a PvE Care Bear, and I don't want to put in the time to get to its selling feature anyway. Walking Simulator 2016. So let's talk about some other exciting first looks that went up. Oddball first look week. Winning Putt, which we originally tried to do a duo first look, Jason and I, and that didn't pan out because halfway through the first look I hit my hotkey to tell him nice shot, not realizing that was also my end recording hotkey. So we did a half-hour first look, and I only had footage for 15 minutes of it. So I went back and did it again.
I won, by the way.
He did win our match play. And I also did one for Snow. Before I give my opinions on these, since I did the first looks, Q, what do you think of these two games?
Dude, they're sports games.
I knew she hates sports games.
They're sports games. I mean, as far as like what it looks like they have for Snow, I mean, it looks like they've got a pretty decent setup for things for you to do. The game itself, graphically, like you pointed out, is nothing, stellar. And the golf thing, I didn't even watch it.
All right, so Jason, don't go into Winning Putt because I know you and I feel pretty similar on Winning Putt. Tell me your thoughts on Snow first.
I remember talking about this a couple of years ago when we first heard about Spunkify on the cast, and I was kind of excited for it. I thought it looked cool. I thought, hey, this would be something new and different.
A skiing/snowboarding MMO.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I don't hate sports. Like
you can't snowboard yet, by the way. That's coming.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, watching your first look, I was kind of disappointed in it. If that's what their more or less final version is, open beta, basically launched. Yeah, I mean, the controls, you complaining about the controls, you having so much trouble moving around and like keep smacking yourself on rocks and whatever.
That could have just been him.
Well, yeah. But
Some of that was... Well, the thing was,
too,
in the video, I do point out when it was just me or when controls all of a sudden got a little unresponsive or whatever.
But I noticed, like, in the bizarrely Windows 10-esque menu that they have.
Yeah.
I did note, like, you pointing out a bunch of things like, oh, there's things for controllers here that aren't here yet. So apparently there's a ton of stuff they're planning on dropping into.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's weird is...
controller support, yeah.
Well, I got to update you on that. So It's a weird open beta. Jason, you said, well, this is, pretty much what it's going to be. But if you read some of the things that Poppermost Productions has said, it's not. I mean, they're on like version 0.7, and they're referring to open beta as not even being system complete, let alone bug checked and stuff.
But
it's
then
like
they don't release it into open beta.
exactly
To read shit.
Right, and that's my thing, is that the open beta flag might better serve them if it was closed beta, even though everybody could get in. And we've seen companies do that, right, where they do a closed beta that doesn't. It's not closed off to people.
It's not closed. It's an open beta. Shut up.
Yep, but then the term open beta conflicts with being feature ready, which the game is not. Now, controller support apparently. Controller support is natively supported, even though there isn't anything in the menus to do it. It's just plug and play. However, my Logitech controller would not get recognized, so that was why I was under the assumption that the game didn't natively support it. Apparently, other controllers you can get to just plug and play, and it'll recognize it no problem. I also didn't spend a lot of time searching for that when there was no menu, because in their description of their open beta, one of the things they mentioned changing down the road is controls. So to me, that was, okay, they'll put controller in later. Key binding is an option there, but you can't do anything with it yet. So there's all kinds of little oddities. I don't know. It was interesting. I wouldn't play it though, and I'm okay with a snowboarding game or a Tony Hawk, the trick-based games. In fact, I do very well on games, the old school Tony Hawks and things like that. And this feels a little more old school. It's very limited as far as what you're going to press. It's just odd playing it on a keyboard with two hands. I don't know. This one to me is like a 5, 5.5. And that's with 7 being an average game to me.
I mean, maybe they could put in some more things to make it more feature-rich, but even so, it just seems like the basic engine of it is going to kind of drag them down a little bit.
Yeah, I also didn't like that you didn't get to create a character, and then when you when you do look at your character, I looked like a pillar. Like I was 7.5 feet tall and 75 pounds. And damn, cue those ragdoll physics when you bail. My body just got thrown everywhere. On the winning putt side of things, this is not going to be a popular decision. I enjoyed the hell out of winning putt.
Yeah, me too. Why is that not popular, despite it being kind of pay to win?
Because it's a shitty golf game. But
it's free.
You can't enjoy shitty games. It's like enjoying B-movies, which, I mean, I love B-movies.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed the hell out of winning putt. There are definitely, now that I've played it even longer than the first look, Jason and I were staying away from the whole, is this pay to win or not, because we hadn't played it enough to figure out what was going to be available to us and what we would have to spend platinum on. There are definite aspects of pay to advance a lot faster.
There's straight up pay to win.
Then there is straight up pay to win stuff in there as well. But if you just want to sit back and you like a golf game, hey, I was having fun with it. Yeah. I really was. And I've played it since the first look still. It's one that I boot up.
Yeah, viewers, let us know if you want to see me and Mike go at it in a rematch, like on a stream or something.
Yeah, we could do a gameplay action or do a bomb live, something like that. Q's not going to join us, though.
No?
Oh, God, that would just be awful.
That sentence was almost awful.
Everyone.
I will just tell you that the sentence I said there, while could be misconstrued, almost really got misconstrued. Because in golf, it's a threesome and a foursome.
I was almost going to say...
And so I almost said, Q's not going to join us to make it a threesome. Halfway through the sentence...
yeah.
Halfway through the sentence, my brain said, reword, hurry, hurry.
Abort.
Yep, you are running out of time to correct this before this becomes awful. Real quick...
Would any readers like to join us in a threesome?
Oh, God. I don't want to do this show anymore. Real quick, before we get to the bombs, anything to say here. NCSoft is making another MOBA to join the small marketplace that is MOBAs. I gotta believe it's like an NCSoft Heroes of the Storm. They're using all kinds of characters from other NCSoft games. And I kind of just look at this and just generally give it a thumbs down, Q. You have some easily recognizable titles. Maybe not in the West. Lineage, I'm sure there's characters in there that people in the East would recognize that none of us here recognize just because we're in the West. But you don't have the stable that Blizzard had. when they launched Heroes of the Storm. I don't know. I don't see this going anywhere very quickly, Q.
I mean, I guess it depends on how much you like their games. Like, that's really what it comes down to. How much do you like NCSoft games?
Another frickin' MOBA.
I think Blizzard does have, obviously, like, a bigger fan loyalty to all of those characters. So there's that kind of thing. But, I mean, I don't know. It's a MOBA with characters. Do you really have to know them that well?
I can't believe it, but I actually feel like trying it just so I can play Guild Wars 2 characters. I want to be Ridlock in a MOBA.
Yeah, so I mean, I can see like people who are just fans of like even one of the games, right? Because not everybody who's a fan of Blizzard games is a fan of all their games. But they're still, Diablo fans are still more than happy to play Arthas in Heroes because, maybe Arthas has something that a Diablo character, that they might prefer playing doesn't, but they're still, cool with it, so.
Jason? Nothing?
Don't let me try it. Don't let me.
Well, here's the other thing, too, that... Sorry.
He's going to make you try it.
No, well, I'm going to end up doing the first look. See, we've got unspoken, well, Jason and I spoke them just so we knew where everything stands. So I guess they're not unspoken rules. But Jason and I have rules on the back end of MMO Bomb. It's, I generally know the types of games that he likes and enjoys. He generally knows the types of games I like and enjoy. So if there's a first look coming down the pipeline that neither one of us really cares about, then those just kind of fall into my pile since I do most of the first looks. The games that I like fall into my pile as well, and then there's games that I'm like, Jason, you're definitely going to enjoy this a lot better than I am. Go ahead and do a first look on this one. And we do the same thing with articles. So we have this rule now where if it's anything MOBA, I cover it. And if it's anything war-related, Jason covers it. Could be Total War, could be tanks, could be ships, could be heroes and generals. If it's war-related, Jason. If it's MOBA, me. So I'll end up having to play the damn thing. I know it. I know it going into this. Now, one thing I am trying to find out, though, because you had mentioned... You had mentioned playing Guild Wars 2 characters in this. What is the possibility of Guild Wars or ArenaNet and NCSoft parting ways? That's been a rumor for a long time.
Yeah, it's been a rumor long enough, so I don't know.
Don't think it's going to go anywhere?
Not really.
All right, let's go over and do the weekly bombs.
Although there are WildStar characters in there, apparently, and who knows how long that's going to last.
Go ahead, Jason.
Oh, I'm first. Okay. I am going to be anonymous with who I give my A-bomb to out of a little bit of respect.
I know who.
No, yeah, maybe you do. I don't think you do, actually. It's not anyone you've probably heard of. But I give an A-bomb to people who email you the day before a convention wanting to set up an appointment.
I kind of hate that.
Like you've had 3 weeks, a month, maybe longer, and now today, while I'm heading there, you want to suddenly say, hey, you want to come by our booth?
My other favorite is, hey... It's like 3 days before a convention, not in your country. We want to see if you're going to be here.
I've never had that before. Usually I only get this because I was on the mailing list, the press mailing list, whatever. But.
That happens for Gamescom every year.
Every year. Like 3 days before Gamescom. Hey, are you coming? We want to... Yep. No.
Yep.
That's another country.
I'm going to give an A-bomb, again, for Try on Worlds, again. Just after the Rift stuff that we teed off about on the cast last week and did our first free-to-play police episode on, Trove, a few days later, underwent some changes in their cash shop and hid classes behind buying it with cash or a class coin only. You cannot buy classes for qubits, the in-game currency, anymore. Insult to injury, new players are going to farm qubits at a slower rate, and prices on other things in the cash shop are now higher. Cheap mounts and things like that have been totally removed. And to add some more insult on it, patron status now may have game systems locked behind it. Now, they haven't specified what systems, whether these will be new game systems or systems that are currently available to free-to-play players that will now be restricted to patron status only. So I'm beginning to think, Q, that the problems at Tryon Worlds financially may not just be restricted to individual games at this point.
No, I think they threw just way. Honestly, I think their problems started with them actually teaming up with Sci-Fi to do Defiance, and then the whole issue with End of Nations, was that the right one?
Yeah.
So that, but I think they basically, I honestly don't know, or obviously, but I've always felt that like most of what they were doing, because they rolled out with Rift like really quickly, and they actually had the beta for that in End of Nations, like they gave cards for beta out at the same time to people at GameStop. I know this because the GameStop manager where I lived gave me both cards. And then it was like 3 months after that they rolled out the beta for Rift, and it was like, oh, this is amazing. This is like the cleanest rollout of a thing ever. And then it was how long between that and the actual beta for End of Nations?
Yeah.
Like they already had the cards printed up and were giving them to people. So I always felt that they got heavily bankrolled by Sci-Fi Channel for doing this project, and a lot of that went into building Rift and getting it going, and then back to concentrating on that and then dealing with the problems with End of Nations and everything else. And I think that somewhere like Rift was pretty much the only thing that ever actually did well.
I don't know how much of Defiance had an impact on Rift per se, but I definitely think that deal might have impacted Tryon Worlds as a company. Because Rift, if I remember right,
not
Rift was
itself.
Okay. All right.
Not Rift itself, just the whole company, and then the whole company has to obviously make changes all the way across the board to make up for it. And Rift was the first place, because Rift was still a played game, and when they switched it to free to play and added these other things, it was in an effort to give the company more money, not necessarily the game itself.
And I don't have a problem, Jason, with them needing to earn money. I just have a problem with them changing the game on things that already exist. Change it in what you're going to release, in my opinion. Don't alter what has been there already in a way like this that just screams they must need money, because there's no other way players are going to take this than the company needs money.
When you take away something they've already had, that's when it's going to feel like the worst. And there's just no way to avoid that.
Weekly bomb, Q.
Actually, I have a bomb for Blooming Bud Studios, who just put out their first game, Calendula. It is quite possibly the coolest game you could pick up for $6.
Totally not free to play, but cool.
Not free to play, but it's cool.
All right, fair enough. From the viewers, Lagwood1980 says, think I'm going to have to give Blade and Soul an A-bomb. Just feels to me that they're trying too hard to get you to pay up. Almost everything to buy from the vendors costs way more than you earn. In fact, it wouldn't be the first time I've logged out on a minus on credits earned, and I've not even bought anything. Shame, because it seems to be a good game so far. Lagwood, I get what you're saying. I will tell you that gets somewhat better as far as in-game currency and how you accrue it. That gets better at higher levels. Particularly at end cap. So I will just tell you, yes, I agree with you. The leveling experience, that's way off. I don't know if you're at level cap, but in my experience so far, that has changed a little bit once you get there. Go ahead, Q.
Elusive Treasure, I'm going to assume that X doesn't actually need to be.
We always call her Elusive X Treasure. Her and her husband are big-time MMO bombers.
Okay. The only game with mounted combat I've ever really played is Arcade. Each mount has its own hotbar, and attacks are specific to the mount. For example, the Elk mount has a lot of bow-style attacks. They also have limited aerial combat via gliders. Both are fun, but limited in usefulness. I did use the Elk's attacks on my Archer from time to time, but overall I stick to ground combat. More or less because I simply have more options and utility. Bomb to Project Gorgon, I've been eyeballing this one for a while, finally decided to download the alpha, which is free to play at the moment, and I have a blast. I've been calling it my new EverQuest because it has that old school charm and it's all about exploring and a little Easter egg type things. I also enjoy the fact that it's classless, allowing you to instead choose 2 skill types similar to Secret World, which is a huge plus in Secret World. So you have a good amount of customization options. I think this one has real potential, and I appreciate all that went into making the game.
I agree. I think it has potential. We don't talk about it because, yeah, while the alpha is free to play, the game will not be when it comes out. But I tend to agree. And the mounted combat thing is in response to us talking very briefly about Riders of Icarus last week, which has it's a tab target game, but it has a big selling feature as far as mounted combat goes. Speaking of that, go ahead, Jason.
Mr. Beard69 says, "Hey, Magic Man, here's a video of Icarus Online, aka Riders of Icarus, Korean North American name change, developed by We Made Entertainment. I'm excited about this one. Been wishing for this title to drop over here ever since watching videos on steparu.com's channel. I hope Nexon can pull this one off."
Mr. Beard69, we thank you for the video. Zol Gazy says, "They look like the crackheads living down my street." I guess talking about us, I'm not really sure what else we could say about that. Go ahead, Q.
To Goya Bassman, Wildstar's situation is shameful. The devs just don't give a flying fuck about the game. The only content that the game is getting is new cosmetic stuff for the cash shop every 1 or 2 weeks. Cosmetic gear that was planned to be rewards for playing content according to third-party sources. Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, Jason's been clicking refresh on the NCSoft financials for 2 days now.
Just about.
Go ahead, sir.
Hold on, I gotta check the page again. Nope, still not updated. Alright. Sky Shadow says, "I have a question for you. What is your favorite and the most hated race from any MMORPG? My favorite race is the Char from Guild Wars 2. Excellent choice. For me, easily the best race. My most hated are the Elan from Terra. They really don't need to exist." Good choice on the Char, though. That would have to be up there for some among my favorites. If you're talking about like just the whole lore of them, and I like the way their zones look and everything, they probably are pretty well up there. For least favorite, you guys go first. I'm having trouble thinking.
I'm going to go, my favorite is Galka from Final Fantasy XI. My least favorite, I agree with our friend here. Elan don't need to exist from Terra. Q?
I tend to just usually go for the most human characters possible. So I don't know that I really have a most loved or most hated one. It's just that I prefer playing human race or humanesque races over anthropomorphic ones.
Well, there you go. Jason, did you come up with your least favorite yet?
Actually, even more than Elan, I think I hate the Popori from Terra, just because they're just like little furry furballs.
Wilfredo Rivera got last week's movie reference. Jack Nicholson would be proud to know you dropped that reference. 89 Batman for the win. A-bomb for games that are announced but never release over here in the U.S. I'm glaring at you, Phantasy Star Online 2. And
Can you just call that one off right now?
And I join you in that glare. I join you in that glare. Go ahead, Q.
Long Island Video Gamer. Stopped playing Rift when they revoked my founder status last year. Trine has been a shady company in my eyes ever since the Defiance DLC fiasco.
Hard to argue with that one. Jason, finish it up.
Shadow Wolf is A-bomb for NDAs. I want to talk Battleborn, but I can't.
Yep. Welcome to our world. Question of the week last week. Do you consider games like Guild Wars 2, EverQuest, EverQuest 2, and other titles that charge for the most recent expansions free to play? Chris Baker says, question of the week, yes, I still consider MMOs free to play even if they're charging you for expansions. For starters, they aren't in any way forcing you to purchase them. Second, if you truly enjoy a game and they happen to have an expansion available for insert amount of money here, I have no problem forking over said cash to make my experience more enjoyable. Hopefully more companies adopt the Guild Wars 2 model of free to play in the future. Q.
Mega 17, for question of the week, I've personally never really acknowledged Guild Wars 2's self-proclaimed shift to free-to-play. The free aspect still carries restrictions compared to the base game, which is, if you look at it economically, still being sold for money just with expansion together as a discounted bundle. Regarding the questions describe free-to-play model, I don't think they qualify as either free-to-play or buy-to-play. They land somewhere in between, and I feel the industry would benefit as a whole if new phases were made for it that just for it that doesn't carry the stigma of paywalls. Developers have to make money. Marketing needs to be able to pitch it, and consumers need a new term they can throw around. Free to try, buy to continue. Maybe you guys can think of something better. I actually like buy to continue.
The problem is, as you said right there, marketing needs to be able to pitch it. So
yeah, buy to continue has kind of like a negative sound to me. It feels like insert quarter to continue.
Which we did a lot.
Yes.
Wow,
Hold on, I got all that crack.
Actually, we're doing cocaine here. You snort crack, or you smoke crack. We're a little.
I get
the worst crackheads ever. We don't even know.
Right. I snort it. You smoke it. Whatever. Go ahead, Jason. Finish us up for the question of the week.
Sky Shadow says, I consider them to an extent as free to play. If you're here just to lose time, then yes, they are free games. But for those that are in the game as competitive players, then no, I don't consider those games as free to play because the whole game is not free. A game is free, in my opinion, if the developers don't shove their hand in my wallet so I can explore the whole world and/or play any way I like. Yes, they are free from the start, but there's a significant wall between those that get the expansion and those that have not, and is easily spouted by the stat difference and stronger items that are not available for the free players.
I guess I'll finish it up. I didn't see the last one. Wilfredo Rivera, question of the week. I think as long as the core game is free to play, raiding, PvP, PvE, World v World, crafting, etc., then you have full access to everything even launch players have had access to, then yes, it's free to play to me. Expansions having a price point is not a problem because devs gotta eat too. However, if the core game starts getting gated by whatever nonsense a publisher developer has decided on, items in the cash shop, tier restrictions, etc., then it becomes pay to have fun. I would never tell someone if I was a goat. I would never tell someone I was a goat if I am obviously human. So some games... I got really lost there for a second.
Yeah, me too.
So some games shouldn't say they're free to play if they're freemium. That's just a sack tap I won't tolerate. Question of the week this week. We started a new show last week called Free to Play Police. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, please do. Give it a thumbs up, a like, a comment. But the premise of the show is looking at individual pieces or items of contention in cash shops or stupid monetization decisions by companies like Tryon Worlds, where we kind of take them to prison, take them out behind the shed and shoot them a little bit for a few minutes and bring
I
them...
was just going to use a nightstick and beat on them a little while. You're
Yeah, if you haven't checked it out, please do so.
I think you get arrested for that.
But we want to know what item in a cash shop or feature in a free-to-play game do you think needs to be investigated by the free-to-play police next? We want to hear what you have to say. Some people have already brought up Blade and Soul Viridian Keys, so we'll take a look at it and see if it's questionable enough to do an episode on. And please make sure it's current. I don't want to look at EverQuest's thing that was in their cash shop 5 years ago, or go and look at Eve's monocle. Something.
Who doesn't want to look at Eve's monocle?
Something current. Put it in the comments below. Make sure you leave your weekly bomb, dub bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad. Until next week, Q. Where can everybody find you?
Lurking on Twitter at Quinlan, and maybe poking around with some articles on game skinning.
Oh yeah. What about you, Jason?
I don't lurk. I'm very active on Twitter at Winter Informal, and a lot of my PAX South articles are going up on mmorpg.com. So head over there.
I'm Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man. You can follow me on Twitter at MagicMan1, MAGICKMANN1, or come on over to MMOBomb.com. Check out all the first looks, giveaways, articles that we pump up there daily. There's like 3 different giveaways that just went up in the last 2 days, so check it out. Until next time, gang, stay safe, and we'll see you on the servers.